Hey everyone, this is the Art of Braids, and I'm your host, Karyne Tinord, and today's topic is a really good one, and we have a special guest, so hold on to your horses.
There you go. I love that.
Today's topic is From Maine to Masterpiece, Pro Horse Braiding with Jennifer Davis. So our special guest actually braids horses. So before I go into anything, I just want to thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us on this episode and just kind of like give a little story behind your business and where you are right now in the world.
So I have been braiding professionally horses for about 30 years. I started out when I was a teenager because I was braiding my own horse when I would compete. The art of braiding horses, though, has been a tradition in the equestrian community for centuries. It is done in order to not only highlight the horse's conformation for aesthetics, but also when they would be taken out in the hunt fields for hunting, it prevents debris, twigs, brushes, trees getting stuck in the horse's manes and tails. So there was a very practical purpose to it. Now it's more of a aesthetics for competition and judging, so the judge can clearly see the horse's conformation. And so I started because I didn't want to pay someone. And my horse was also quite hard to braid, so the professional braiders didn't want anything to do with her. So as a teenager, I learned and then built my business through referrals. Almost all of my business is done through other customers being happy with my service and somebody asking them, "Hey, do you know a braider that you like?" And so then that is how I've built my business over the years.
And where are you currently in the world?
I am, well, right now I'm at the barn, but I currently operate primarily in the Midwest in the United States. So 26 weeks out of the year, I'm in Wilmington, Ohio, and that is at the World Equestrian Center, which is the United States' largest heated indoor horse show facility. And then I travel for work. So there's times I'm in Kentucky at the Kentucky Horse Park. I go to some of the winter circuits before, like the Winter Equestrian Festival, the all over the place. So I do a lot.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching the horses walk back and forth behind you. Um,
Yes.
so you kind of touched a little bit into some of the questions that I had for you. Let's go into a little bit more about like the cultural and artistic overlap of what you do.
Yep.
Many of us only braid people here, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
as far as like the learning, did you know how to braid prior to that? Like, how did you learn how to braid? And then you said you didn't want to pay anybody to do it, but
Right.
like, how did you go about learning that?
Well, it was really hard. So when I was a kid, so I started braiding in the 90s, okay? So back then there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't tutorials. So I did something really what the kids nowadays would be like, "What?" I went to the library and I took out books on horse grooming and there was these archaic pictures of horses braided and they're like, "And you take the yarn and you tie the braid up." And I was like, "But how do you put the yarn in?" Like, how do you sew it with the needle? How do you, they're like, braid the tail and end it with a pinwheel. I'm like, well, how do you French braid? So a lot of it was done through the really difficult way of trial and error, where I would try a method and the braid would fall out. And I would go, well, that didn't work. How can I logically change things so that the braid doesn't fall out? So I had like the original way I would knot off the yarn in order to tie up the horse's braids was completely wrong. I was using like a shoelace sort of design, and then the braids would fall out. And at first, I compensated by braiding even tighter. I was like, this is not gonna fall out. And then I was like, oh, I can do a slip knot. So it was a lot of trial and error. When I was developing my skill, a lot of the other professional braiders in my community did not want to teach anyone, especially a 12, 14-year-old kid. They were like, no, I have no interest in teaching anyone anything. In the horse community, in the braiding world, it is, as the cat comes and joins us, it can be a little bit uh, possessive where they feel threatened by having additional braiders in the community. They are also at the same time complaining that there's not enough braiders and they're overworked. So there's this weird disconnect between wanting to grow the community so that there's enough to fill the demand, but not having so many that the demand is so high that you'd have to reduce costs. So there's this problem within our community in the horse world where breeders don't necessarily want to share their skills because they're scared of losing their profession. I am not of that mindset. I think that everyone who wants to learn a skill should have availability to education. Now, do I think it should always be free? No, because education costs money because the people who are teaching you took time and skill to learn it. So, of course, there should be some connection there. I do a lot of free education in general, but I also understand why people pay for education because, it costs money to learn. um, so yes, our community is weird and it has evolved. So braiding as a profession in the United States, from what I have learned from my braiding community, actually really started in the 70s. Before the 70s, horse braiding was primarily done by the horse's caretaker, what we call a groom. So grooms would be responsible not only for the horse's care in terms of getting them clean, bathing, cleaning their stalls, feeding the horses, they also used to braid them. Well, as the equestrian community grew in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, those specialists couldn't handle all of the demand. So they couldn't handle cleaning and grooming and prepping the horses and doing the braiding. So a couple of grooms started specializing in just the braiding art. And with that specialty, the art of braiding the horse grew and expanded and got better. In the 2000s, probably around, I would say 2015, we started braiding in color. It was not commonly done. So I was one of the first ones to start doing things like rainbow braids and two-tone braids. There's no rules against it in our association. If there was, I'd probably be the reason we have a rule against it. But my community, what ended up happening was I had a lot of owners who took out their own braids, and having the slight contrast was easier for them to remove the braids themselves. So of course, I had to push it. I couldn't just leave it at, well, like, let's do a subtle contrast. I was then like, well, why don't we try red? Your favorite color is red. Why don't we braid the horse in red? There's nothing wrong with braiding it in red. There's no rule against braiding it in red, and red will make you happy. If these braids will make you happier, why wouldn't we do a different color? And so we've kind of progressed that to where it's really quite common for horses in our industry to have a contrasting yarn, which increases the level of art because then you have to create lines within the yarn and within the braid in order for the style to be pleasing. Because if your yarn lines don't add up and they don't create a pleasing line, then it actually makes the horses look less pleasant, and like their conformation is faulty if the line changes. So with the combination of having parts and spacing and negative space and positive space, and then the connection of the yarn and the braid, it really creates a much more cohesive aesthetic for the horse and for the human's eye, right?
Yeah.
I can talk a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm educated. Like I'm like
Yeah.
since like because I know I've seen you on you're on TikTok and you're
Yep.
educating, which is great because then
Yep.
I found it. I was like, wait, hold up. I've seen the shows, but to really like see someone actually, working the art of braids on
Yeah.
horses, there's so many thoughts that come to mind.
Yes.
So like, have you ever braided a human person?
So the reason why my business name is Unicorn Equestrian Braiding Services is when I first tried to register it as Unicorn Braiding Services, I got dinged because I don't have a cosmetology license. So to practice my art on horses doesn't require a license. If I braided human hair, I would need to be licensed. And I've just never taken the time to get that licensing. I have definitely braided my children's hair as they were growing up, and they did a lot of complex different braids for Halloween and for school events, and really loved experimenting with their hair. And their hair is so different than the horse's hair. Like my daughter's hair is so much different texture, different thicknesses. It's always fascinating how on a human skull, you have a different dynamic because with the horse's hair, there's no roundness to it. Like the you have just like almost like a flatness to them, and then you're against with it. It's a whole different dynamic having the curvature of the scalp, which is fascinating to compensate for. So I do really admire the women and men that braid human hair because it is very similar, but it's a different art all at the same time because a lot of the concepts are the same, but the application of them and how you control them is different. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel
Yeah.
like human with humans, you have to get a little bit more, I guess, gentler
Yeah.
with the tugging or pulling. You mentioned on one of your lives that the tension, there's no real tension for the horses, but if you were to use that same you like if you were to use the same kind of like I guess tension that you use on horses on a human, would that be considered tight on a human?
I think it depends on the human. I'm sure you guys have that experience too. Everybody perceives tension differently on their scalp. When I like have braided some people's hair, like because when little girls horse show, they get their hair braided in French braids, two French braids, and then they have braids and bows. And sometimes a mom will be like, I can't get her hair in, and I'll like do an emergency mom job. And some kids are like, oh, that's so much nicer than when anyone else has done it. And some are like, why is it so tight? And I was like, it's really actually not tight. It's really not. But I appreciate your feedback. And if I ever have to do your hair again, I'll make sure to pull a little less. So there definitely is differences in perception. And even within my horse clients, we call them the horses, some of them perceive the tension differently than others. I think for the same reasons where their biofeedback from their skin is different. Like we all have different sensitivities, and I think some humans would think what I'm doing on the horses is loose, and some humans would be like, wow, that's really tight, all depending on their perception of it.
Right. That's good to know. I feel like it's like really detailed.
Yeah.
Um, and it takes time. Like what is the
Yeah.
time frame of how long it takes to actually braid maybe the tail versus the mane?
Okay. So tails are faster. The French braid on the tail, if it is always way worse when I'm live. When I'm live and I'm distracted and talking and reading comments and like adjusting, like this is my chest mount I use. Boop boop. So like when the phone is in between me and the horse, I'm like looking around, it takes longer. When I am just concentrating on performing the service, it takes about 15 minutes to braid a horse's tail and put in their wig. We haven't touched on wigs yet, so
No, we
that'll be
have not.
another fun thing. Yep. Right? And so a mane, I can do anywhere from right now, I'm running about an average of 30 to 35 minutes a mane when I'm not live. Live, it's about an hour because it just increases the time. When I was younger and super fast, I could braid a mane in like 20 minutes consistently for 15 to 16 hours, and do a 8 to 10 minute tail. But that was when I was like in my 30s and I didn't have as much arthritis and things like that. Uh, I definitely have to say, as I've aged, you just get slower. I mean, you just do. It just is what it is.
Yeah, like you're like, I gotta sit down, I gotta do this, like, so I get it.
Right? Like you have to take a break. Like I used to be able to work like 18 hours in a row and like not eat, like just be eating in between, like walking between stalls and just like go, go, go. And now I'm like, no, I need a break.
Yeah, it's exhausting as you get
Yeah.
older.
Yep.
You mentioned wigs. Like with humans, we have like our wigs, and now like just to know that horses also,
Have wigs. Yep.
please.
So, okay. So horses, depending on what discipline you have different wigs. And we have wigs that are made by machine, and we have wigs that are made and sewn by hand, which I don't know if that happens. Are wigs made by hand in the human community?
They can,
They
like,
can be.
like the custom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. So we also have like custom wigs, which are sized, and every horse has different colors in their tail. So some of them have custom sample matches. The majority of all of the horsehair, and this is probably when, if when used, horsehair is used in human wigs as well, all comes from China. So almost 90 some percent of all horses are rendered in China. And so since that's where all of the meat and hair gets processed, it's all imported from China. So during these tariffs, the wig costs have skyrocketed. What used to cost like $200 now is going for like 450. Just the cost of hair per pound has doubled because of the tariffs. Especially white hair. White hair can cost like $500, $600 per pound. Astronomical, especially because we're using horsehair that is 40 to like 40, 42 inches long. So it's that length of hair that is the issue because it doesn't move as naturally if you use shorter hair and create layers. When the horse is moving, if the hair is too layered, it creates a disconnect and then it looks unnatural. So to have the highest quality, you want longer hair, which then, of course, increase the costs. Yep.
And you need more. I know with like human hair, the longer it goes, the thinner it gets. So you have to just add more. So
Yep.
it's such a
It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It really is. Now, luckily, most of my horses' wigs last a good 5 to 20 years.
oh,
I
okay.
have some wigs that are still in use 20 years later. So the hair, as long as it's cared for, I'm sure you guys deal with this too. Like some owners were like, throw it wet into like a bag, and I'm like, what are you doing? It's like a biodegradable product. What did you think was going to happen? Of course it's going to rot, right?
Right.
um so long as it's properly cared for, kept dry and in good conditions, they last a long time.
Okay. So that there goes like education on like how to even maintain or use
Yep.
the hair after. I think that's very important. We do
Oh
tell
yeah.
clients as well, like, listen, you're gonna have to dry your hair. Like you can't, yeah, like dry. Like you
You
can't
gotta dry it, like not damp, not like, it needs to be dry, like it's a concept, it's a concept.
right. It's
Yeah.
like mold happens, like all of
Yeah.
these things. But I digress. Well, so horse shows are high stake environments. What role
Correct.
does styling play, and how does your work contribute to the overall presentation and performance? I know you kind of touched on that earlier about the shapes and how it looks, but as far as like the agility and things when on the horse and like jumping and things like
Yep.
that, that the braid help as well.
So those are great questions. And my part of the whole process is in the hunter ring when the horses are being judged on what they look like. What I contribute is about 10% of their score. So it can, when things are tight, what I do can be the difference between first and fifth place. So depending on how well I do my job can really, in tight competition, affect the horse's overall pinning, where some of our higher stake competitions, the difference between first place and fifth place can be tens of thousands of dollars. Like some of these competitions and the national finals, first place might win 20 grand and fifth place might win $1,000. So when we get to those high stakes competitions, they all want the very best because they're like, I don't want that to be the reason why I didn't win, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's not a big part of the score, but when we have two horses of equal ability, they have similar courses, it can affect their pinning, especially because some of the horses are like, you'll have so many that are so good that if they come presented with poor braids, it really offends the judges. They will go, couldn't you at least like make them look nice? Why are these braids sticking up? Why are they not even? What's wrong with this horse? What's wrong with your presentation? What's wrong with your program? Because it's so visual. And in terms of the horse's actual physical performance, if the braids are too tight, if the braids are spaced wonky, if we have a couple that are tight and then a couple that aren't, it can actually affect the way they use their neck. So it can affect them negatively and positively. So for the horses that are ill braided, if they have uneven pressure, if there is too much pressure, not enough pressure, it can distract them. but horses that are braided like properly, all even tension, all even handling, and everything is just so for them, they go in more focused and relaxed. A lot of the horses that I service, I become kind of like their centering portion of their day. They've done their things. I kind of put them in that I'm ready to perform frame of mind. And that is a different, like, mental part of the game because the horses, because they're animals, if they go into their performance having anxiety from poor handling or poor quality of braiding, then that anxiety can affect them in a worse way. But having a positive experience, having a soothing, like they feel pampered experience essentially, um, they can really go in and perform just a little better. Like they're like, ooh, it's so funny. Some of them literally light up like light bulbs. They're like, I'm so handsome. I'm just so pretty. And they will, you can literally like a almost like a show dog. They just go in there and they just start strutting. And a lot of the times when they're not braided and the mane's flopping all over the place and they're not neat and they're not tidy, the horses actually kind of like, this is nothing special. It's just another day out of the yard. And they're just like, meh. So it's my job sometimes can be very psychological for the rider and for the horse. If I'm not quite on my game, it can really affect. So I always have to be very, very careful that I'm coming in the right mental space. And that's part of the challenge of the profession is dealing with animals that don't talk back, which is both great. Sometimes it's fantastic. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Whatever
And then
style you
sometimes,
want, it would just be the, I guess, the owner.
yeah,
But I think with clients that I use, that I work with,
yeah,
uh, it's really important, like energy, like, like how you come in, like how you were saying, right mindset, but just kind of like coming happy and stuff like that. You kind of set that tone. And it's
oh, it's so
transferable.
important.
And it's
And
transferable. Touch them.
exactly. It's a very, very similar. And I know for me personally that my business has soared because that is part of the referral. Like people really love it referring to me because they know that I'm going to come in with a smile and even when I don't want to, even when I'm faking it, right? Like when I'm, oh, I feel like dog do today, but I fake it. I put on that smile and I have that happy attitude. And I think sometimes some of my competitors forget that. They forget that we are in a client-based service industry and our vibe really affects the client. And even when you don't want to have a good vibe, if you can just suck it up and go forward, it will really increase your business and get you those referrals and get you because I don't know, I'm assuming in in the human game, so to speak, the human braiding game, it's the same sort of thing that a lot of your business ends up being happy customers referring to you, right? It has
Yeah.
to be.
It's word
Yeah.
of mouth. It's word of mouth. And
Word of mouth.
people
Yeah.
see the work, like especially when they're out and about and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
who did your hair? And they're like, well,
Yep.
so that's the biggest as far as advertising. And then
Yeah.
some people have bad, some people have bad
Yeah.
and they like that spreads like wildfire. So it's just do
Yeah.
right by people, like,
Yeah.
feel comfortable. Even if you mess up, just, we kind of
Oh,
like,
just own it.
yeah,
Yep.
own it and, try to rectify the situation. Um,
Exactly.
so the last, since I feel like we touched on everything, so the last three questions is more of like how to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'll go into the first one, which is what is something which is fun. I mean, braiding horses is really cool and out of this world. But
Yeah.
what is something that people are surprised to know about you?
Ooh, surprised to know about me. I think if anything, I'm the most boring human on the planet. Oh, I know. I think a lot of people are surprised to learn that I met my husband when I was 15. Like I've only had one boyfriend, one husband my whole entire life. Just
What?
him, just one man. We've been together longer in our lives than we have been apart. So yeah, I am 44. Gonna be 45 this year, and I met him when I was 15, and we've lived together since we were like 17. So, yeah, it's
Okay.
really kind of different, right? That is kind of surprising. Most people don't have that type of history.
Yeah, no, 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 they don't. Especially now in these ages right now. So
Hmm.
congratulations on that, and your
Thank
birthday is
you.
coming because
Yeah.
what day does it fall on?
I will not until June 23rd. I'm,
Oh,
yeah,
all right.
yeah,
So you're still young.
I'm
Um,
still.
the next is, what book are you currently reading? And would you recommend it?
I am currently reading Fourth Wing series, and I love them. I think they're a great fun time. I mean, you have to be into that dark romance sort of thing, but I do love the Fourth Wing series.
Oh, okay. All right. I gotta look into that. And then the last but not least question is,
Mhm.
how can people find you and support you?
TikTok, Jen Braids. There we go. TikTok on Jen Braids. Join the community, right?
Thank you
Yes.
so much for
Thank
joining.
you.
I know you have some horses in the back waiting. They're like,
Oh yeah, always, right?
thank you.
Horses are life.
Okay. So I've never ridden a horse. So I feel
Really?
like, yeah, like I haven't. Like I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're so big.
They
Uh,
are. They can be overwhelming when you first get to know horses, especially because they are a prey animal. So since they're a prey animal, they are really driven by instinct, even more so than like dogs or cats who are predators. So learning that as long as you don't set them off, they're really easy.
okay,
Yep.
that's good to know if anybody wanted to get into the breeding world.
Yes.
Equestrian.
Equestrian. Yes, equestrian. Yep.
So thank you again. I'm gonna let you go. And
Yes.
everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode with Jennifer Davis of the Unicorn Equestrian Braiding Services.
There you go. You got it. Thank you so much for my education too. I loved hearing about the human side of things because it is fascinating to me. Because I know we do so many things similarly and we do have crossover. So because I love the art of braiding. I think art, like braiding is such a cultural significance for so many people. And I have so many viewers from all over the world that tune in to the lives and discussing how braiding and braiding horses or braiding hair really culturally connects us.
Yep,
And it's amazing how like, it sounds silly, like, how does braiding connect us worldwide? But it really does. It's such a cultural part of like unity. It's something that so many cultures participate in so many different ways. So it's a common denominator that we don't always experience nowadays. You know what I mean?
I do. And just like adding like animals in it, and some
Yeah.
people do their dogs and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool that braiding in Russia, there's a braid con that,
Really?
yeah, they started in Russia. And I was there like, yeah, that's why I was like,
Yes.
push the art of braids and get
Yeah.
more conversation going and showing the connection and how
Yes.
like people have their own way of doing things, but at the end of the day, it's just about like pattern and it's art. So
Yes, 100%. I completely agree. It's that pattern, it's that art, it's that symmetry, it's the eye being drawn to the artistry and the highlighting of the beauty of the person or the animal. And there's not quite any hairstyle or I don't think there's even like the picture art doesn't connect us in the same concrete physical way that braiding does. So thank you for what you're doing with your podcast and for really highlighting that connection. Because I think today in our world, like finding the things that connect us more brings us closer, and that's what we really need, you know?
yeah, I co-sign.
Yeah. Yes. Yes,
Thank
right?
you so much. We'll be seeing each other more on TikTok. And so if you have any more questions for like the human stuff, please
Yeah.
let me know. And
Oh,
or the dresses and stuff like that that I create. So
oh, I can't wait to see. Yes, I've seen some of your art and it's absolutely stunning. Wonderful, beautiful things. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, because a couple of the viewers in the live chat knew who you were and they're like, "Oh, it's such a great podcast." So you already we already had some crossover. Yeah.
okay. I feel that's good to know.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, this is great. This is great." And I was like, "Oh, good. Yeah. Yay. Excited. Excited."
Now I'm extra excited, but I was already knew. I was like already like geeked out. Like I was there like, oh my God, we have Jennifer, like the horse braiding, like that is just it's different. Like what I
It
do
is
is
different.
different, but this is like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like a horse. Like you could get hurt. There's
Yeah.
no, so
Oh, there's a whole bunch of, you know what's really funny is I was on an airplane once sitting next to a nuclear power plant inspector, and he thought my job was more weird. And I was like, "You inspect nuclear power plants? Like you literally prevent death and destruction." And he's like, "Oh no, you're way more fascinating." And I was like, "Okay,
yeah,
whatever."
like when you're looking outside of him, like, oh, that's second nature to him. Like he's like,
Yeah.
but you're like, you have to make sure
God.
that the horse is calm, you know,
Yeah.
they can kick and all of the things.
Yeah.
And it's just like you have to be like, so yeah.
There's so much. It's so much. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And like the braiding and like the all of it kind of works together. It's all part of it. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.